Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. For nearly 2 decades, the United States Air Force appeared to be taking a real interest in the potential threat from UFOs, or UFOs, as they were called in the early days. Project Blue Book examined 12,618 reports and determined that less than 6% were true unknowns, proving, they said, that there is no significant UFO threat. Looking back at one of those true unknown cases today, the Air Force's conclusion may have been somewhat hasty.
I thought, well, what the hell did I do to deserve this? All these guys coming in telling me that if I don't keep my mouth shut, they're going to throw me in jail.
Harold Butcher had never been treated so harshly. But then again, he'd never seen anything so completely astonishing.
I've never seen anything move as fast as this thing moved and disappear and come back as quick as it did. It moved so fast that you couldn't hardly see it. It was there 1 minute and gone the next.
Seen once, remembered for a lifetime. Outside this barn in Cherry Creek, New York, 1965. Harold was 16.
As he was working in the barn, he noticed that the radio he was listening to became staticky and blanked out. He had been listening to music, and there was a glow in the sky, and he ran to the window to see what was happening and saw this gigantic object descending.
What it was, or where it came from, is still unexplained, but not for lack of trying. 2 investigative units combed this area. One was the Air Force's Project Blue Book, the other a civilian watchdog group.
And NICAP sent one of our investigation teams to the scene. There was one in western New York State, and they were there within 1 day of the sighting.
At the time, Richard Hall was Assistant Director of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. NICAP's distinguished membership included scientists, philosophers, retired military personnel, people interested in solving the UFO mystery.
NICAP came into existence because the Air Force was being very secretive about UFOs, and it was felt that a high-level civilian group could maybe pry loose some information. We were basically adversarial. The Air Force, we felt, was hiding information, and we were trying to get information out.
When Project Blue Book went into the field, NICAP was right on their heels, doggedly gathering information and eyewitnesses that the Air Force had overlooked.
Project Blue Book was the Air Force office that investigated UFO sightings for the United States government. The Air Force system in Blue Book was to label reports in one of 3 ways. Either it was explained, in which case they would say what they thought it was, an aircraft or a balloon or whatever, or it was unexplained, unknown, they used to say, and the third was insufficient data.
The incident at Cherry Creek was labeled as a true unknown.
It was a very interesting case, and one with multiple evidence, including the electromagnetic effects, the physical traces, the illumination, everything. It was a classic mainline UFO sighting.
Well, it looked like an airplane. It was that big. When it set in the field, it had 3 legs on it. It looked like 2 turkey platters put together with a roll of rivets around the outside. And it sat there a good 5 minutes, so I got one real good look at it. And I've never seen my animals act the way that these did, because they jumped and kicked and bucked and made all kinds of ungodly noises.
He claimed to have seen this object descending and then ascending, and he reported various details, including a red vapor emanating from the lower edge of the object. Claimed he saw the object take up, accelerate rapidly, disappear into clouds, coloring the clouds green. That's the sighting as a condensed version of it that's contained in the NICAP file.
Bob Galgansky has carefully researched the incident at Cherry Creek and has spent many hours trying to track down additional eyewitnesses, like the 2 state troopers who filed an official police report, then just seemed to disappear off the face of the earth.
They had a lot to lose by reporting this. They were risking their reputation. And for them to come out and actually state that they had seen something like that meant a great deal to me. It indicated to me that something genuine was happening in the area.
Dick Nelson still lives next to the Butcher farm and remembers talking to the troopers the night of the UFO incident.
Well, after the policemen saw it, they had a whole different attitude towards it. They couldn't believe what they saw.
Then the big guns descended, The Air Force arrived to investigate, and on their heels was NICAP.
Next thing I know, here come this guy from the Air Force. They had a truckload of guys that taped off the whole area out there and put a guard on each corner of the property there.
That's when, Butcher says, he was threatened by the Air Force officer in charge for taking pictures of the military investigation.
I had some pictures of it that I took, and the Air Force took them, and they wouldn't even let me have them. They told me if I had any more pictures and if they come out, I would end up in jail or the nut house, one of the two.
They were scared. I mean, everybody was scared.
I believe there was a UFO sighting at Cherry Creek at the Carr Farm. I don't think it had the degree of strangeness that the NICAP report would seem to indicate it had.
Kalgatsky's conclusions pleased no one. Yes, Air Force work was shoddy, but Butcher's testimony is too inconsistent for anyone, military or civilian, to explain.
What you find is a gradual escalation of detail. You find that Harold begins to tell the second team of investigators different things that he didn't tell the first, and there's this gradual polishing of the account.
Richard Hall does not agree.
There's some minor discrepancies in the report, but that almost makes it more believable too, because if you get absolute perfect uniform testimony, then you got to be suspicious that something was rehearsed.
Ironically, the most compelling support for Harold Butcher's UFO encounter comes from the Air Force itself, which concluded that this one was a true unknown.
That, to me, is the most perplexing aspect of this entire case. And why the Air Force, which had never, ever been UFO friendly, would classify this as unidentified is beyond me.
The fact that the Air Force classified this as an unidentified is very interesting and very significant because they were very stingy about doing that. Ordinarily, they would be very happy if they could label a sighting and get rid of it. If it was even if it was stretching the truth, they would try to explain it as an aircraft or a balloon or strobe lights or something, a meteor.
Maybe they let this one slip by, or maybe indeed there's something more to it than we know.
I think perhaps the fact that NICAP was on the scene at the same time they were might have inhibited them a little bit in this case because they knew we had the goods on it.
Cherry Creek is one of more than 600 true unknown cases reported to the Air Force between 1948 and 1969. However, investigating these cases further is next to impossible. If you FOIA Blue Book's unknowns today, witness names, addresses, in fact, all pertinent information is blacked out.